What happens when we get startled? Someone doesn't necessarily have to jump out at you. It's enough if, for example, something falls, and you already jump almost to the ceiling. It wasn't even such a loud bang, so why did you get startled? Again, it all has to do with the distant past, when our ancestors had their hands full just surviving in a nature full of dangers and predators. If something happens that we didn't expect, the brain, just to be safe, gives the body the order to start defending itself. The adrenal glands start producing adrenaline, the pupils dilate for better vision, the blood vessels leading to the lungs, brain, and muscles widen so that we are immediately ready to flee. We start to sweat so we don't smell nice to the enemy and also so that we're not so easily caught with sweaty skin. Only after this series of reactions does the brain evaluate the situation and may find out it was unnecessary. There's no danger. Sure, we end up startled, but that's better than if the order were reversed. And the reflex to flee came at a moment when it was already too late. What if the Earth were twice as big? Our planet is neither small nor large, it's just right, exactly as we need it. What would happen if it suddenly grew to twice the size? The main problem? Surface gravity would be twice as strong. Most trees wouldn't be able to stay standing on their trunks and would collapse to the ground. Just like all the buildings and structures that were built under completely different conditions. And what about us? We would feel like we were carrying another person of the same weight on our backs. We would fall, break bones, and our spine would become deformed. Increased pressure on the skull would worsen our vision. But by doubling all the mass, the number of unstable elements inside the planet would also double. That would cause immense heat in the Earth's crust and an increase in volcanic activity. Gases from eruptions would change the atmosphere and climate. We definitely wouldn't be breathing as easily as we do today. The law of conservation of momentum would also significantly slow down the rotation of a planet twice the size. One day would last longer than a month, and each side of the planet would be in darkness for more than 2 weeks. Where does milk in plants come from? We are clear about the origin of milk. Whether it's cows, goats, or any other kind, it is produced in the mammary glands of female mammals. But in stores we commonly find soy milk, rice milk, almond milk, sesame milk, or even poppy seed or potato milk. So where does milk in plants actually come from? Of course, no milk flows from a plant, it has to be made. How? Seeds, legume fruits, or parts of cereals are simply soaked in water for several hours. Once they swell enough, the liquid is blended and strained so that no solid pieces remain in it. That's why it's not difficult to make such milk at home. Even though we might think that plant milks are a modern thing, records of their production exist already from the 13th to 14th century. In the German cookbook Das Buch von guter Speise, compiled around the year 1350, about a quarter of the recipes use almond milk. It was useful at times when people refrained from meat and dairy products during fasting. What color is electricity? Electricity is a form of energy. It has no color on its own. However, when someone wants to draw an electric discharge, they will most likely reach for blue or purple. One shade is even called electric blue. So where did these colors come from? In order to see electricity, it must pass through the air. Air is not a good conductor, but when sufficient voltage turns it into plasma, which is an ionized gas containing ions and electrons, it can carry discharges of various colors. The result then depends on the specific gas Air contains a large amount of nitrogen and oxygen, which, when passed through by electrons, glow blue or purple. If we had air made of neon, for example, the electricity would be red. Who put the pom-pom on the beanie? A regular hat keeps you warm too, but the one with a pom-pom is just a bit more stylish. But who actually invented that fluffy ball? And is it really just for decoration? Pom-poms on hats were supposedly already worn by the ancient Celts. And they were really big ones, even 3 times bigger than the hat itself. They believed that the shaggy tuft would protect them from evil spirits, or that they would look bigger and scare the enemy that way. And if there was no enemy around at the moment, then the giant pom-pom would at least protect you from snow. Later, sailors also wore them. Below deck they often hit their heads on low ceilings, and with a pom-pom on the head, the blow wasn't so bad. Small pom-poms appeared on military uniforms, to distinguish different units by their colors. In the past, pom-poms were even worn on baseball caps, though that is no longer common today. As a reminder of the removed decoration, we often find a button on the top of the caps. Which cells are the most numerous in the body? The number of cells in the human body is estimated at 30 trillion. To work together properly, of course, each one can't just do whatever it wants. According to their specialized functions, they are divided into roughly 200 types. Can you guess which of them there are the most of? Clearly, and with a huge lead, red blood cells come first, the cells responsible for transporting oxygen from the lungs throughout the entire body. An adult has about 25 trillion of them. In other words, they make up more than 80% of all cells in the body. In general, men have slightly more red blood cells than women. And they are also slightly more numerous in people living at higher altitudes, where they have to work harder due to the lower amount of oxygen in the air. Compared to other types of cells, red blood cells are also very small. In 1 cubic millimeter, 4 to 5 million of them can fit. How are whales weighed? Whales are definitely the heaviest animals on the planet. The weight of the largest ones can reach up to 200 tons. But how do we know that, when a whale probably won't voluntarily step onto a scale? Weight data often comes from dead individuals. When a dead whale is washed ashore by the sea, it is then possible to weigh it with the help of advanced technology. However, this is not the most accurate method. Fluids are lost from a dead body, and the weight may already differ from that of a living creature. Today, though, there are other options, for example, to weigh a whale using a drone. More precisely, a drone photographs the whale from all possible angles, and from the images, a computer program creates an accurate 3D model. And from that, thanks to knowledge of the ratio of muscle to fat, experts can estimate the weight of the giant creature. Why do some mandarins not have seeds? You know that tension when peeling a mandarin? Will it be full of annoying seeds, or will we enjoy beautiful smooth pulp? And how is it even possible that some mandarins have seeds and others do not? There is a story about a French missionary named Clement Redier, who grew the first seedless mandarins in the garden of an orphanage. According to one version, completely by accident. According to another, he crossbred mandarins with a sweet variety of orange. In any case, in 1902, clementines were named after him, smaller, rounder fruits with a shiny peel, which are mostly really seedless. From a botanical point of view, seedless mandarins and other citrus fruits are those that were formed without pollination of the flowers. Growers achieve this through breeding, meaning they play with the genetic setup of mandarin trees. What color is the universe? Is the universe colorful because images of nebulae and star clusters shine with every shade of the palette? No, these colors are created only through the processing of telescope images. Or is it black, as we imagine the space between stars? It's a bit different. Already in 2002, British astronomers Carl Glazebrook and Ivan Baldry conducted an analysis of the light from 200,000 galaxies. At that time, they were studying the age of stars and stellar systems, but of course, depending on the different wavelengths of radiation, we also perceive different colors. What would be the color of the universe if the colors from all the stars and galaxies were mixed together? This question occurred to the scientists, and at first they determined the color as light green. Later, however, they revised it. If an external observer saw the universe as a blurred blotch, they would perceive it as a gentle beige. But how to name the shade a bit more elegantly? Among a number of suggestions, such as skyvory, heavenly ivory, or unibeige, space beige, in the end cosmic latte won. Not only is it a type of white coffee, but in Italian it means milk and thus fits with the name Milky Way. Which came first, the seed or the plant? The question is similar to the one about the chicken and the egg. So what is the answer? The oldest fossils of land plants come from 470 million years ago. But they're not trees. Just a kind of simple moss. And how does it reproduce? It releases spores, which are always carried away somewhere. By rain or wind. While these spores are made of a single cell, seeds, on the other hand, contain a multicellular embryo, which is protected from drying out by a solid covering. And that took another 150 million years to develop. So plants really do have quite a head start over seeds.